Hey, what's up, you guys? So, today I decided to take the time to take a look at a few videos in which the modeling industry is given sort of an inside look because I have always been on the end of the spectrum that just vaguely knows about it based on what you hear about on television, what you see people tweeting about and stuff, and hi, Wolfos, and all that good stuff. So I just decided to sit down and watch like three videos, which I have linked in the description, and sort of take notes on them and just talk about it because I have had my instances where I express my opinion on what I think about the modeling world, but I really have not dedicated a full video to it. So I think it's time. And I see the Garuda has arrived. How's it going? And I am doing okay, guys. I hope that you guys are doing well as well. So, yeah, let's get started. The first thing that I learned about watching modeling videos, and hey, Viking, awesome, there's good folks around, um, is that I think it's weird that people who do casting and all that, hey, Knight, White Knight, they focus immediately on a girl's height. And that to me, I'm like, okay, you're looking for someone who's like as tall as a skyscraper, I guess. Nah, not that exaggerated, but they're looking for people who are at least like 5'9" and maybe like 6 foot tall. But then at some point, they have the nerve to tell a girl that she's too tall. And I'm like, come on, like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for just yeah, what are you looking for when it comes to height? I think it's crazy that you are looking for a specific height when I think that when you are actually a model for some kind of marketing, the first thing that people notice about the person is the face. If you're marketing for makeup and the picture that is being taken of you to show off the product is your face, why would it matter if you are like 5 feet tall or if you are 6 foot tall? So the fact that there are these agents who are secretly amongst the crowd, just looking at people, and if you happen to be told, they just approach you out of the blue, and you also are like a teenager and really young, and they may even wait for you outside of school to like have a look. To me, that was kind of creepy. It seems a little obsessive. I would be uncomfortable with that, but I just think it's weird that they're looking for a specific height. Like, I have seen so many beautiful women who are short, and I never really thought about it. I never felt like their beauty was invalidated just because they're a few inches shorter than your average girl, I guess. But girls to me are normally short. Like, I used to be the tall one in the classroom, and I'm only 5'7". So I don't see that big deal when it comes to that. So I just think it's weird that you're examining height and using that as a standard, I guess. Also, when it comes to being involved in this industry, I find it uncomfortable that people, all kinds of people, different kinds of people, let them be men, women, and usually significantly older than me, they are going to be examining my body, like using a measuring tape, wrapping it around me, touching me, and then constantly just telling me that I may be too fat for something or that I need to lose more weight. I'm like, do you want me to disappear? Like, how much smaller do you need me to get? You know, to me, that's just, it's just weird. It doesn't seem like a healthy approach at all at getting a job. So to me, it's just disturbing. I find it disturbing. I don't think that I should have a job where I'm being scrutinized like that. And in fact, all of this is happening before I even get the job. It seems pretty humiliating. Why would I submit myself to that kind of psychological pressure just for a good paycheck? No. No amount of money can convince me to do this. And then while I'm on that note of your body being examined, the extreme diet and exercise that these people seem to go through, to me, it's just straight up starving. And what comes with you having a strict diet is that sometimes you neglect some supplements, and then you get away with it because you're young, but at some point your body will start breaking down because you have deprived it of the proper nutrients, given that your diet is so limited. So I do not need to be spending the my adolescence or the end of my adolescent years and early adulthood being restricted in a diet to where my body is secretly suffering, and when I get a little older my body will stop functioning and I will have to deal with all sorts of problems, because you are actually asking to make your body be weaker, because in your years when you're still physically developing you are depriving it from crucial supplements because of the stupid diet that you have to follow just because you need to have a slim figure. To me, that's very unrealistic and it poses a concern for me more than anything. And that means that if I were interested in becoming a model, I would have a very hard time because I already suffer from natural deficiencies given my genetics. So this is definitely not the job for me. And another thing that I noticed is that you actually get taught how to do that stupid catwalk walk. Like you have to walk with a certain like rhythm to you, which the only positive thing that I saw about you being trained how to walk is the sort of like the shoulders back thing, because I realized that at the job that I do I spend a lot of time like this, and then it kind of hurts my lats and my traps, and then I wonder why I feel so terrible, and it's because my body is not designed to be in this position, nor am I designed to have a kind of a hunched back, but I unconsciously end up doing it, and now I have to actually make myself aware that I am having that kind of a hunch, and then straighten my body and then pull my shoulders back to correct that incorrect posture that I maintain at my job, because I'm not consciously thinking of the fact that I am like making that my default setting, and then when I come home that's why I'm in so much pain, because I have not taken the time to train my body to stand correctly. So that was the one positive thing that I saw about making you conscious about having your head up and shoulders back, and I thought that that was a positive thing. But at the end of the day, what irritated me the most was that, just to me, the way models walk looks stupid. That's all I have to say. It seems so unnatural that maybe that's why I visualize it as stupid. And then something that stood out to me the most is the regular appearance of these models. They actively seek that European beauty standard because, of course, that seems to be what has ruled the world and civilization the most, the European influence. So they're looking for those traits: blonde, light skin, skinny, small body frame, tall. And I think that's just weird because basically the only way for you to get this job is pretty much by luck and genetics, because some places, some agencies may be looking for whatever is trendy, and at some point it used to be that they were obsessed with looking for models who are a little more on the tan side. So usually they would end up with people from like Brazil. Like they have this lady, I thought she was pretty, her name was Adriana Lima, and then they had Alexandria Ambrosios. She also is Brazilian if I remember right. And I'm like, when I look at it I can see why that would be a beauty standard that they're seeking. They have a tan to them, and they also have different colored eyes. Like, I don't remember what this Adriana lady has, but I think they're blue or something. And I mean, I gotta say, to me they look attractive, but to say that that's the beauty standard, to me that's just sickening, because I know beauty on all races, to be honest. And it's it's not, it's very unrealistic. That's all I'm saying. It's trying to say that if you do not fit the mold, then you cannot be considered pretty, or at least pretty enough to get a job in that industry. And I'm like, what? It's crazy. One of the videos they featured someone who's a little dark skinned, and they featured like a black model as well. But they were telling her that she was too tall. And I'm like, okay, you happened to get a pass on what's the beauty standard of the European look, but then you're actually getting rejected because of your height. It's a lose lose situation. And then the thing of it is that it seems to be the most racist industry ever when I think about it, because if that's the beauty standard, then someone like me, who I'm not exactly of a petite frame, I have like my hips are on the wide side. So that means that the rest of me, my torso and all that, is also going to be a little wider. I would be considered too big for this role, or even too fat. And I'm like, no, you just do not understand my body because you are used to the models that you have sought after for so long, which is the smaller framed people. You do not know how to handle a different kind of body frame. That's almost what it seems like. So if you really call yourself so knowledgeable and so professional about this beauty industry, then I would expect that you have a greater scope and a greater tolerance for different body frames. Because if you ask me, my experiences that I have with um, what the people around me consider attractive, it tends to be bigger bodies. No one wants to be dating a skeleton, for example. So you cannot be promoting your products, your beauty products, like the slim figure is ultimately what the average person is looking for, because that is bullshit. And you guys tell me if you agree or disagree with that statement, because I maybe it's narrowed down to the community that I'm surrounded by, but normally I hear that people like realistic body shapes. Like if you're in shape, that's awesome, but people don't like to see someone who's just skeletal, you know? I know that I don't like that. I wouldn't like to have a guy who's just all excessively slim. Like, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I do like guys who have like more of a bold figure. So I can see why guys would be attracted to something that's contrary to them, but I have never ever heard a guy say that they would like to be with a mummy. Like, so skinny, so just lifeless looking. To me, models look lifeless. You ever see that expression on their face? It's lifeless because it's a job. It's forced. So yeah, I'm a little skeptical about that one. But yeah, at the end of the day, their beauty standard to me is just dumb because they're looking for the best of, I guess, all worlds, but at the same time you don't know how to look for it when you find it. It's just it seems unhealthy to me. I could not imagine myself having this job. Um and then finally, like I said, I feel like it's kind of a racist thing because they just don't know how to handle the figures of other races. I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm not a model and I'm also not a casting agency, so whatever. I don't care. This is just my opinion. And then speaking of the stupid walk, don't even get me started on the stupid poses that comes with modeling. Like, I don't think that I would succeed at a modeling session because I would just laugh at how stupid I think I look. And don't get me wrong, some pictures that I have seen on magazines do look nice after all the photoshopping, of course, and all the editing. And that's also another thing that gets me. If my body is going to end up being digitally altered, why should I go through the trouble of just assassinating my insides by starving myself if at the end of the day you're still going to alter it? Why are you looking for my specific genetics when you're going to edit this picture to give me a 10? Like, you're being inconsistent yourself. I just don't get it. But again, I'm not a model. I don't edit the pictures. I don't take the pictures. I don't know. This is just my opinion. Maybe if I was actually involved in the industry, it would all make sense. But as an outsider, I just feel like I don't need to be supporting an industry like that. And well, I guess with this attitude, they wouldn't support me either, which is good. But, anyways, I'm just rambling now. And then most people said that they do this because of the money. Like, the money is good, you can make thousands of dollars, or you can make hundreds of thousands. And then if you're like at the top of the modeling world, you can be a millionaire. And I'm like, guess what? Doctors can be millionaires, lawyers can be millionaires. But I guess it takes brains, which is what you're actually sacrificing to pursue this career, because you're being young, you're putting off college. Some of these people are dropping off school. So I guess that intellectual department is not really going to be your forte when you like audition for a modeling position. But guess what? That's the kind of person I would be. I like to think. I like to actually have skills at the job that I do. The skills that are needed in this profession are pretty much God given. Like, if you're born with the traits, good for you, but your kind of labor would be diet, exercise, and also posing. I don't think that those skills, in the grand scheme of things, satisfy my soul. See what I mean? I like to be a wise person. I like to know about what's happening around the world, that, around the world. Whereas these people, my impression of them is that they live in this bubble of lights, cameras, and it's like an artificial environment, and you end up so sheltered that you're desensitized to the actual stuff that happens in the world. And I just would not like to be a uninformed or misinformed citizen. So that's what I worry about, because the schedule that these people have, it's like you have no life. You're constantly traveling, you're always away, you're trying to, I guess, squeeze in sleep time amongst all your chaos. So when would you have time to become an informed person? So I guess as someone who values knowledge, then this would be a concern for me. On the education aspect, I don't want to sound hypocritical because I skipped college absolutely deliberately, but in its place, I acquired skills by submitting myself to undergo some trainings and also to do my own independent studying, like reading online stuff, researching stuff, just took my education into my own hands. That's what I'm saying. As a model, if I'm constantly busy, then I don't see how I would be able to do that, which is some of the stuff in life that I enjoy. And then you guys know me, money just simply does not drive me. It is important, we need it to live, and it's also important to have extra so that you can retire with some degree of dignity and comfort. But when it comes to having money just for the sake of being flashy and showing off the good life that I can give myself, they're not my values. So this would not be the career for me, income wise. That just doesn't really attract me. And then you are also too young to be snatched from home and be putting off education, period. Like, there's these teenagers who say that, my mother moved with me so that I could pursue my modeling career in New York and whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but okay, this isn't like a life altering decision, right? But just because you landed a role doesn't mean that you're going to steadily be hired and have a job like that. You land a job, you make your money, but you can be unemployed for a while after that. What are you going to do in the meantime? And God forbid if you have a contract. And let's say that for whatever reason that contract does not satisfy all your needs in your personal life. What are you going to do? You need to have a plan for that. And it's not like you can be doing something on the side to make ends meet. You will not have the time, and if you're under contract, that's their exclusivity. Is that even a word? Anyways, you are exclusively working for them. You cannot do anything else on the side, or else it's a breach and you lose your that thing that you worked so hard for, which is the job. I think that's crazy. I shouldn't have to live such a stressed out life. And then when it comes to, since I mentioned values, I guess I should also mention that the mindset that the industry overall has, which is obsessed with youth and beauty, it doesn't align with my personal values, because I know that I'm going to age at some point and I'm going to be considered unacceptable to keep working, and I sure as hell am not going to be willing to undergo surgeries and alter my body. So this, in the long run, is just not a career that could really sustain me. And then this is probably going to be a risky thing to say, but on the videos that I watched, it was very female heavy. And all I have to say is that if I had an all female workforce, like I was surrounded by all female colleagues, I mean, you guys know I don't like to have a competitive mindset, but I like diversity in my workplace and to be exposed to the people who think the same way, whose values are unlike me. That's going to create some problems. And then there's also going to be the girl who's probably going to try to give me beauty tips to like be better or something. And I'm like, how about if you mind your business and you let me prevail or fail at my own rate? Okay? Like, I can just imagine that they're trying to tell me what to do to my hair, or just, even though on a contract, I guess it would control that. It would say what kind of appearance you need to have. But I'm just saying that in my experiences in an all female household, like I had a few years ago, and an all female classroom, all female uh, shift, it was a terrible experience. I'm just saying, I like balance. And that to have this be constantly my type of setting, it'll be a clash. I'm just saying, I can see disaster when it comes to that one. So I'm not interested in putting myself in the lion's den. And then um, there's also a thing that one of the videos mentioned about all these fees that incur, and a lot of the models don't even understand what they are because no one breaks it down for them. And then basically what you think you're getting paid in the end gets a massive cut because first of all you have to pay taxes on it that you do not know about because there's no way of telling what your final earning is going to be, but you also have to pay other people. Like some goes to the agency, some goes to some crew members, whatever, messengers, all that. And I'm like, see, I'm so busy that I'm useless to my own self to handle the things that any normal regular person can do independently. So I just would dislike giving up my life as a normal regular person and have to rely on others to manage my life. Like, say, how are my bills going to get paid? I have to trust someone else to take care of my responsibilities as an adult. But if I'm a younger model, I guess I have nothing. I have nothing to worry about. But as I get older, those would become concerns for me because I like to be a responsible adult at the end of the day. And how do I know that my funds are not going to be mismanaged? And how can I even begin to trust someone else when I don't have the time to get to know someone for me to hire as my manager? See what I mean? I think that's a valid concern. It's part of being responsible with your finances. And then I just don't like the pressure of being under a contract, period. Then it also seems like a very controlling type of environment. Like I like to be able to gain weight if I have to, lose it if I have to, eat whenever I want, whatever I want. This just sounds like a huge life of deprivation, and you get a big paycheck in compensation for your misery. It's not worth it in the grand scheme of things. And even though they also try to throw in there the fact that you can be traveling a lot and you get to see many different places, meet different people, travel the world, and all that, you guys know that I get homesick very quick. And that I like to travel for the sake of being on an airplane because I just love aviation like that. But I do not enjoy being away from home for long periods of time, and not only that, but not knowing when I will come back home. I like to have a predictable schedule. And then they also talked about how some of your castings may overlap, and I'm like, having to like critically think about which one is more convenient for me, it's just not worth the stress and effort, especially for someone who this is not my ideal kind of career. Then no. but these girls insist that this is what they dream of, the glamorous life and all that. And I'm like, I guess you're heavily sheltered when it comes to understanding what it's like to be someone who is hired, someone who is laboring. Because let me tell you, when you're unemployed, you're living a very chilled life. But when you're owned by someone, that stuff gets to you. Life changes whether you like it or not, and it's not always going to go your way. So why would I expose myself to something that is not going to be very considerate of my needs? See what I mean? And then the aspect of me deliberately being somewhere where I have to be prepared to be constantly receiving negative feedback. It's like most of the time they're going to find something wrong with your body. And I think that the number of compliments that you're going to get will not ever really overpower the negative feedback that you'll get, especially when it comes to your weight. So I just think that it's a very, very, very toxic environment, and it's very like uh, obsessed with things that come and go, which is youth and physical beauty. So I'm just saying that I would like a career that helps me grow as a person to handle life better, and not one that's going to teach me to value the stuff that has a expiration date. Like, can I have a career where I actually learn character traits as opposed to just how to maintain my body in shape and just be physically attractive? You know, can you teach me skills on how to manage time, how to manage money, how to manage a home, how to have leadership traits, how to manage a team? Those things to me are important, but I don't see how this modeling industry can make me a better overall person, especially in the emotional and mental department. You guys tell me, maybe I'm not seeing it. It's possible. And then again, I have no interest in altering my body physically in any way. And then I also feel like this job is very unskilled, like I mentioned earlier. Um, all you have working for you is your genetics. So if you have them, great. If you don't, then you're kind of screwed. The skills that you get is pretty much about presentation, physical presentation. But there's nothing, it doesn't supply you with stuff that's useful for life. At least I don't think so. So that is something that would kind of bum me out about having this for a career. And then I also feel like um, it would be tough to form connections in this type of career because everyone's mindset is the same, which is beauty, 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 beauty. You gotta wear this, you gotta wear that. This is what's trendy. This is the style now. This is how you present yourself to be more appealing and have more success. You know, like what values can this industry possibly have? So there was a video in which it talked about how models are possibly exploited and all that, and I'm like, this is a business that is lucrative based off your body. So when you get hired by these people, you are saying that it's okay for them to own your body. So for you to be feeling like you're being exploited and like you need more rights as a worker, I mean, I get it. No one deserves to be mistreated. That's definitely like we're supposed to be done with the era of slavery, I guess, but modern slavery just has a different name and shape and different condition. But the point I'm trying to make is that these companies just own you, and this is not a regulated industry. So it's either you can handle the pressure or you cannot handle the pressure. If you cannot handle the pressure, you need to be honest with yourself and be like, you know what? The idea of having a lot of money and traveling and having fancy stuff is very appealing. Like for anyone, it would be. But is it really worth me giving up my peace and giving up my youth? You know, those are the things that I like to think about and consider and value prior to making such a drastic decision. And I feel like this is not the career that would support me when it comes to that. See what I mean? And to me, connections are very important. There is no way that I could be the person that I am today had it not been for the very specific people whom I have met that have guided me. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to find mentorship of this type in the modeling industry. I'm just saying that for someone like me with my outlook, it's not very likely that I would fit in to this type of social group. And then finally, being constantly treated like there's something wrong with my body and really it's genetics that's dictating this to me. It's like, no, what is wrong with my body is, I guess, it does not suit your standards, and honestly I don't think the point of my existence is to please that in any way. So I wouldn't be offended, but I guess that with my non-offended attitude I may come off as full of myself if I were in this industry. And I'm like, no, I'm just confident. I know what my values are. And if you do not appreciate them, someone else out there will. And it doesn't have to be in this industry. And then another thing that would annoy me is, say that I get my hair done and my makeup done, and then I drop hundreds of dollars on looking like a complete artificial just being. And then let's say that it's raining, or let's say that, I don't know, something fun is happening and it's at the beach and I cannot get my hair wet and stuff. I don't like that kind of life. It's the same reason I don't wear heels. I don't wear heels because at any time I can go for a run. Sometimes I just need to walk under a rainstorm, and I want to be able to do it and not be like, oh my god, the $300 that I spent on my hair and makeup, oh yeah, oh, it hurts me. Like, no, no. The rain is not made of acid. I'm not going to avoid it just because I have makeup and my hair done. So that would be too much of a waste for me, and I don't think it's just worth it. So yeah, you guys, I believe that I went over every single one of my points. So I'm going to do the risky maneuver of reading your comments since I did not load them on my computer, and then hopefully the stream will not crash. But let me see what you guys are saying. Oh my god, I fell so behind. We're gonna make this work. Um, I also think that modeling agency is looking for people to fit a political narrative nowadays. My opinion, that's all. You know what? It's right when I think about it, because did you guys see that story of that one guy? This has nothing to do really, but people were mad at this guy who got casted in Disney to play the role of someone who is not straight, and then people were mad because if this role opened up, then a person who is not straight should be acting that role. And I'm like, no, you need to understand that acting is acting. Someone has the skills to pretend that they are something else. Are we asking for legit murderers and killers to fulfill the role of murderers and killers in movies? No, right? So why are you having that mindset of, we need to have a person who is not straight play this part? To me, that's just dumb. So on that aspect of the political narrative, I feel like because it's so heavily female, I'm thinking, there you go. You need to give more opportunities to women, and you need to make this job very accessible and very easygoing on the women, because the women have been oppressed and da 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 da. And I'm like, you cannot just be handed over millions, hundreds of thousands for not working. It doesn't work like that. You have to be able to sacrifice something. The people who make good money have all sacrificed something very dearly at some point. You cannot expect for there to be an industry that just feeds you money for just being doing nothing, you know? So I'm thinking that this industry exists to try to proliferate the women in power a little more, but at the same time, there are also male models, and I'm pretty sure that they have their shares of complaints to make. But of course, no one is going to give attention to that. But see what I mean? I just think it's crazy that you're trying to create this industry when, sacrifices need to be made, and you have to be willing to do them and understand that those things happen. You cannot have it all, unrealistically. It seems odd, but there's supposedly a height and build ratio that allows the clothing to hang just so. I heard something about that, and it makes sense because anytime I go shopping for clothes, of course, I'm not looking for model clothes, but depending on the brand, usually it does not go very well with my body. Like for some things, I have to be large. For some things, I need to be small. But I'm supposed to be medium across the board. But as of lately, I'm noticing that clothes are just changing. And I also know that I am aging and my body is changing as well. But I think it's weird how my dimensions never suit most clothes because when I think about it, the type of body that these clothes were designed for is not for my figure. So I don't get mad, I just put it back in the rack and keep looking. But it's kind of irritating that they're creating this standard completely disregarding the fact that genes vary from person to person and that some people just got wider hips, period. And some people are just as slim as an ironing board, you know? So just, there needs to be a variation. That's all I'm saying. When you're advertising, you're looking to appeal to a specific niche. All characteristics are set to maximize that pool of people. True. From what I can tell, the best thing about the catwalk walk is that it's supposed to be best for walking in high heels. Yeah, that's exactly the case. And at the same time, the bad thing about that is that you are training your body to get used to having heels, and then eventually your body is going to start failing you. Some people end up with dislocated bones for life in their feet because they were on heels for so long. And don't even get me started if you have an accident when you're wearing heels. It can change your life forever. You're going to end up disabled. And I don't think it's worth it. Anytime you go out and you work, you have the possibility of getting hurt. But this may seem like a harmless job, but there can be physical consequences if you're not careful. I'm not gonna make the blanket statement that the entire modeling industry is abusive and creepy, but you can't tell me that ain't what it looks like from the outside. It's just one theory, but I think modeling industry is a transgender destined endeavor. I really think all the famous girls and boys huge in media are all hidden inverted. I can see your point. It's not too far fetched. I have friends that have done a little modeling on a freelance basis. If it's something a person is comfortable with and they can find a respectful photographer, I've heard it's quite enjoyable. I mean, I can imagine so because I personally had a moment in time when I just loved to take pictures and I loved the idea of having a different setting around me. But I felt like I was being obsessed with my image and I'm like, this cannot be healthy. So I just sort of gave up on that. And they really hate normal humans that conform to their original sex and frame. And you see, speaking of normal humans, I feel like these models also have a superiority uh, feel to them because I feel like they would be the first ones to talk down on people who are overweight. And I'm like, you are not indestructible. You are in the shape that you are because your body requires to do so. Because if it were up to you, I am pretty sure that you would not be following such a strict routine. You only do it because you would get penalized otherwise, and you're too scared to lose your wonderful thousands. So, but anyways, that's just me. At 6 feet tall, I prefer short partners. I'm not a fan of the gaunt wave look. Yeah, to me, I personally like for my boyfriend to be taller. Like, I cannot imagine me being taller than my boyfriend. Like, I mean, it's alright. I'm not going to turn you down just because genetics are not on your side. But I'm just saying that maybe it's an evolutionary trait that it makes me feel like my man is just bigger and stronger and it's gonna keep me safe. So maybe that's what it is. But I genuinely do have a preference. It's just the way it is. Um, but if you're if you're a good candidate and you happen to be short, then okay, I'll mess with you. But at first glance, I have a bias for taller guys. But the mainstream modeling industry, at least from the outside, looks straight up torturous. I don't even like supermodel skinny people. I mean, they look malnourished, unwell. I don't get it. Exactly. That's my primary concern. There's no way that keeping that up for long term is healthy. Oh, and you just mentioned the Photoshop stuff. If you can edit pictures, then why torture the model so much? It's needlessly cruel. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The cynical in me wants to think it deliberately sets impossible standards to foster low self esteem. Someone who feels bad about themselves will easily part with money to feel better. You know, you hit a very interesting point. Because when I think about it, most people who end up in an industry like this, they tend to be lonely folks. They were not overly popular. And then they get this opportunity to shoot into stardom and they make their hundreds of thousands and they're living the good life, they're earning the respect of those who didn't respect them back in the day, but it's just on a materialistic standpoint. You're still not being valued as a person. You're only cool now because of your resources, but I bet you that deep down inside you're still going to be lonely and miserable because you cannot determine whether these people are interested in you for what you are or if they're not, or for what you have to offer or who you are. So, to avoid disaster from happening, how about if I remain as humble as possible and even modest when it comes to that? And then I feel like the good quality people will truly show their face. On the subject of body image, how did women put themselves in the position of having gay men influence their fashion and appearance when they have no vested interest in your look? You know what? True to that, because it seems like every single guy involved in this industry swings that way. So it's weird. I think it's weird. Like when I see a guy with a lot of eyeliner and mascara, I'm not saying that guys are not allowed to wear makeup. It's not like it's explicitly a female thing. I'm just saying that to me, that image is just odd because it's not what I associate with masculinity. But, but, again, who am I to say what it's a masculine trait and what it's not? I'm just going by what I think my evolution tells me, which is if a man is looking like me, I'm not going to find him attractive. So if there's a guy who has hair that's kind of done, kind of like mine, like he dresses kind of like me and has kind of the same body as me, you look like me, you're not appealing to me. I can I don't know. It's a psychological game, if you ask me. I see it as a big psychological game. Modeling is a great opportunity to grab the money and then finding a job in the industry to work with other upcoming models, working behind the scenes, etc. Especially when these models make tons of money, I would definitely suggest glamour modeling too. I guess it would work for you also to land roles in like movies and stuff with big stars and whatnot, because I feel like there were some people who were models first and then actresses second. Did I just say a lie? What was Cara Delevingne like? Was she a model before she was an actress? I feel like that's what she was. But I'm often finding that people who don't really belong in movies, they get thrown in there just because they have popularity. I'm like, what happened to getting a job because you meet the criteria? Start drinking your milk, people. I love the mind more than the body myself. Everyone should be real as they were born. Exactly. Because I think that everyone looks the way they do because there's an objective with that. We are meant to look different from one another. I don't think that we were meant to be competing against one another based on appearance. I think we were. I think the only time we're meant to be competitive is like when it comes to mating. No one wants to mate with someone who's weak looking and sickly looking because you want to ensure that your offspring survive. I know that I would not go try mating with a guy who's just sick as hell, because I want my offspring to survive. I can respect them as a person because it's been instilled in my mind the to respect a fellow human, right, for who they are and them breathing and living. But when it comes to mating, I would be picky about it. I want for my man to be healthy because I'm keeping myself as healthy as I can to ensure that my offspring survive. It's an evolutionary trait. So it is not too cynical of me for being picky about a partner if I think that a partner is likely to have offspring that's not very strong. Of course, I'm not going to try to get involved with them, you know? So, in a sense, we will judge people. You will judge your mate no matter what. But at the same time, that's when you have to tell yourself what are your values. Because if you're going to be with someone and you're not worried about producing offspring, then my point is completely shut down. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what your mate's genetic traits are. But for me, as someone who would be interested in that, then of course I will be scrutinizing my guy a little bit. But I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, maybe psychology will overpower my evolutionary trait. And it's, I'll be with the guy just because he's sweet and nice and treats me all this and that. It makes me feel all gushy and loved and all that. But, but I want for my kids to be strong. So if it's up to me, I will go after a strong ass guy. That's all I'm saying. Oh man. Uh, Sad people do not mate like that anymore and waste time and just do it for fun. Prostitutes spread a lot of diseases to married men. Well, there you go. All right, guys. I think I have pretty much voiced my opinion as much as I can say on this. I cannot think of anything else that I would want to add. But yeah, if you guys think of anything else that you want to tell me or you want to debate me on or you just want to know my thoughts any further on, just let me know. You guys know that I love to talk and I'll be happy to just let you know what my thoughts are on any specific questions that you may have. But for right now, I am going to bail because I got stuff to do. All right, guys, I hope you guys have had a good Monday so far. I have. I did not have to work, so that was good. But yeah, just tell me about yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.